YouTube, what's happening? It is Tuesday, May 28th. There are 16 games to talk about in baseball today. But first, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, because I have been on fire, hitting profits almost every day this month. The only thing hotter than me right now was the Florida Sun yesterday. I made the picks, I did the research, I posted the video, and I went outside with some drinks, and I stayed out there all day. And as you can see, the Sun won that battle. Now, it could have been much worse yesterday. I tried to take Kansas City -1.5, but my book, Hard Rock, would not let me do such a thing, which is probably a good thing because after what happened in that game. Either way, that's all full transparency. It says 5 and 5 -1 unit. It should be 5 and 6 -2 units, but you know, you'll do what you can do. So we have 16 games to talk about. Let's get into the first game. We got the Dodgers and the Mets in the first game of a doubleheader. We got Glass now in his 3.09 going up against McGill in his 3.0. McGill's only pitched 9 innings though, so we'll see what happens with that throughout the season. Betting markets currently have the Dodgers as a -210, over under 8.5 with some juice on the under. Dodgers 5-game losing streak. Mets have won a game in their streak. Dodgers hit the Nerfy 65.3% of the time as the away team. Mets 85% at home. That's a 56% chance passing on Nerfy. Dodgers last in the majors this week and scoring at 2.2 runs a game, only batting 200 as well for 26. Mets 4.4 runs a game for 13th while batting 231, which is 21st. Mets are striking out 10.6 times a game, which is the most in the past week. That's something to look at when you're going up against Glass now. Dodgers are striking out 8, which is 11. So looking at this game, I don't like how the Dodgers are -210. Yes, Glasnow's pitching. Yes, the Dodgers are technically a super team. If you want, people were saying that, whatever. If there is a thing in baseball, but with the way the numbers are telling me, nothing stands up. The Mets have better numbers here in the past week, but Glasnow's pitching. I am mainly looking at two things. I'm looking at this over/under. Two pitchers, pretty decent numbers, which McGill take a grain of salt, but Glasnow's pitching 87 to 17K walk ratio. Mets are last in the majors in strikeouts this week. They're swinging at 10.6 and they're swinging everything. Now they get Glasnow. I'm looking at the under of 8.5 in this game. And I'm even going to look at Glasnow K prop and see what it's sitting at. So those would be the two things I'll look at in this game. Next game, we got Boston and Baltimore. We got Bella with a 404 against Rodriguez with a 320. Betting markets -170 Baltimore, over under 8.5 with some juice on the over. Boston has lost one. Baltimore has won 5 in a row, given some of those are against the White Sox. It happens. Boston hits the Nerfy 75% of the time on the road. Baltimore 64% of the time at home. That gives you 48% pass on a Nerfy. Boston's getting 3.8 runs a game, which is 19th. Baltimore 5.5, which is 5th. Advantage Baltimore. Baltimore has an advantage in batting average, 246 to 230, which is an 11 spot difference, 11th and 22nd. And Boston striking out 9, Baltimore striking out 8. That's also 22 and 11th for places there. Pitching matchup, we have Rodriguez with better numbers on the ERA, but Bella has a better whip, which might be more important stat than ERA. K to walk ratios, nothing really impressed, no major differences there. Winner-wise, Baltimore's numbers are better. Baltimore's on a winning streak. I like to ride streaky teams. If you're on streaks, you tend to stay on streaks for a bit until somebody knocks you off. So we're going to take Baltimore on the money line because the statistics line up. The pitching matchup to me is kind of equal, and they're on a streak. So we're taking Baltimore at home on the money line for sure, in a parlay, not straight, just in a parlay. Over under 8.5 with these two pitchers and the stats here. I am actually going to leave alone. We're not going to take that. So just focus on Baltimore, move on to the next game. All right, next game, we got Pittsburgh and Detroit. We got Jones with a 305 with a .97 whip against Skubal with a 225 with a .85 whip. Pitching matchup equal in my mind, slight advantage Detroit maybe, but Pittsburgh's not bad. Betting markets have Detroit at a 155 money line favor, over under 6.5, -140. Looking at the stats here, Pittsburgh and Detroit combined for a 63-ish% Nerfy. Not good enough for me to take. They're both top 10 in scoring runs at 5.6 and 4.8 for Detroit, 5.6 for Pittsburgh. They're both 5th and 6th in batting average at 249 and 251. Only main difference is Pittsburgh is swinging everything. 10.5 strikeouts a game at 29th. Detroit's only at 7.6, which is 8th. So the only real advantage I'm seeing here is Pittsburgh is swinging a lot and missing, which going up against Skubal as a strikeout pitcher is not a good thing. So Looking at this matchup, I don't like the over-under in this one. Who takes under 6.5 in a baseball game? I don't know. If you do, let me know, because I've never done it. I've never seen anyone do it either. And I'm not paying 140 juice to get it over. It's not going to happen, especially when you got two good pitchers pitching. I can't do that. So I'm going to take Detroit on the money line only because Screwball is a strikeout. Ratio's really good against Pittsburgh, who is swinging and everything, and may even look at Screwball strikeout props in this one as well. Everything else we're going to pass on. Next game. All right, next up, we got Cardinals and Reds. We got Gibson with a 381 and Abbott with a 268. Currently, betting markets have the Reds as a 125, over under 9.5 with some juice on the under. Cincy is on a winning streak of 4 games in a row, which is impressive. We like to ride teams that are streaky. St. Louis lost one. They are combining for about a 59% chance on a Nerfy. Not going to pass on that. They're both getting 4 runs a game, which is 16th in the majors, right in the middle of the road. St. Louis has a slight advantage on batting average, 239 to 216, and St. Louis has a slight advantage on strikeouts at 8.2 to 9. Both of them middle of the road. We have all 3 stats, a middle of the road for both teams, so that's going to take out the over-under. We don't know which way it's going to go. The only real difference, I see a slight advantage for Cincy in pitching. And they have a slight advantage of the fact they're on a winning streak. But overall, I'm not trying to throw money away at nothing on hunches. Nothing stands out to say take this, so we're going to pass on this game completely. All right, next up, we got Oakland and Tampa Bay. We got Spence with a 409 against Lido with a 342. Betting markets currently have the Rays as a 170 favorite on the money line, over under 7.5 with some juice on the over. Neither team is streaking as Oakland lost their last one. Tampa Bay's won one. Oakland is 4.3 runs a game, while Tampa Bay is 3.2. That's 14th and 24th. Oakland's batting 243 for 13th best. Tampa Bay is dead last at 193. 10 strikeouts a game for Oakland, which is 28th, while Tampa Bay is only striking out 7.4. The numbers here are saying take Oakland because they have 10 points better on runs, 17 points better on batting average. Pitching matchup is about the same. Nothing really stands out. Slight more ERA for Spence, but the whips are the same. Strikeouts, the walk ratio leans more to Lytle, but either way, nothing in this game is screaming take a side, especially at 170 for the Rays. I just can't. If they're batting 193, I can't justify putting minus 170. I just can't do it. Over under wise, both teams are getting a combined 7.53 runs a game. So 7.5 is out of the picture here. So we're going to pass on everything in this game. There's plenty of other things to pick from. Next game. All right, next game. We got game 2 of the doubleheader. We got Dodgers Mets. We have Stone with a 3-6 against Quintana with a 5-1-3. We have on the betting markets, the Dodgers is a 155 money line favorite, over under 8.5 with juice neither way. I'm not going to go into the stats again because we already went through them on the first game of this video. But however, when you look at the stats here, this is game 2 of a doubleheader. So many game 2 doubleheaders are impacted by how game 1 of the doubleheader goes. So by personal rule, unless there's just a complete mismatch in pitching, you don't really know what's going to happen because it could go extras. You could have anything could happen. So I am going to personally pass on this game here because there's no Gavin's better, yes, but there's not clear advantage better. So I don't feel like putting 155 Dodgers over under. Who knows what could happen? There's too many variables in a game 2 of a doubleheader. So we're going to pass on this one. Move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got Washington and Atlanta. Washington put it on yesterday. 8-0 for the longest time before it was 8-4. Irving with a 3.79 against Freed with a 3.38. Both whips are the same. This pitching matchup, in my opinion, is pretty equal. So no advantage in pitching. Looking at the betting markets, Braves are a minus 240 on the money line, over under 8.5. Stats wise, they're close to equal. 4.0 to 4.7 for runs, slight advantage Washington. 246 Washington, 238 batting average. That's 0.008 difference, no advantage. And 7.1 to 8.4 strikeouts. One extra strikeout for Atlanta, not an advantage. Neither team's hitting on the Nerfy, about 50%. This entire game, everything seems equal. Looking at paper, you would think Atlanta should dominate, hence the 240. But I thought that yesterday too, and look what happened. It was 8-0 for the longest time. I can't go against the stats here, so I'm going to pass completely on this game. All right, next up, we got Cubs and Brewers. Brown with a 3.2 against Peralta with a 3.8 ERA. Betting markets have the Brewers as a 155 favorite at home, over under 7.5 with some juice on the over. Stats wise, Cubs have lost 5 in a row. Milwaukee won 1 in a row. Cubs are struggling on offense. When it comes to Nerfy, they're both hitting about 56%, so nothing to break down there. Cubs are getting 2.67 runs a game, which is 28th, while Milwaukee is 4.3, which is 14th. Cubs are batting 196, which is 29th, to Milwaukee's 249, which is 6th. Cubs are striking out more at 9.5 to the Milwaukee's 8.1. Numbers wise, stats wise, everything is leaning Milwaukee. I think Chicago might have a better pitcher slightly, but the ERA may be lower, but the whip is a little higher, so I think it might cancel out there. I am going to take Milwaukee on the money line because mainly we're just fading Chicago right now. The offense is terrible. Until they can get back to being at least middle of the road, we're going to be taking the other team. So we'll take Milwaukee on the money line. We're not going, with them struggling themselves to really do things. 14th in runs, 6 in average is nice, but 14 in runs, I'm not going to look at a run line here. We're just going to focus on money line and move on to the next game. All right, next up, we got Kansas City and Minnesota. We got Reagans with a 3.34 against Woods Richardson with a 2.57. Betting markets have the Royals as a 125 favorite. Over under 7.5 with some juice on the over. Royals have lost 2 in a row. Yesterday, they almost made the comeback. It ended up only losing by 1, but it was a good, valiant effort overall. They ended up canceling my bet with the over out because with them coming back, the over did hit. In this one, the numbers still are lining up for Kansas City, obviously. They are 6.5 runs a game, which is second best, compared to Minnesota, who's 4.8, which is ninth best. So we got 2 top 10 offenses going up against each other, against pitchers with over 1 whips, about 3.3 to 2.7 ERA, middle of the road on those as well. Kansas City is batting 299, which is first in the majors in the past week as a team, while Minnesota is 232, which is 20th. 8.1 and 7 are your strikeout ratios. Advantage Minnesota in this one. The way the numbers are lining up with number 1 batting average against 20 batting average, that leans Kansas City. Some don't like that. If you lose 2 in a row, some want to back off. I'm not doing it. The numbers are there. So we're taking Kansas City. We're taking Kansas City money line. We're just not even going to entertain a run line today. We're going to back it up to a money line only. We're not going to worry about the over under on this one either because we have decent pitchers. We have Minnesota struggling to hit the ball. They're scoring runs, but they're struggling to hit it, which is kind of odd. Kansas City's doing their thing, second in runs, first in batting average. We're going to rock with that. So KC money line, next game. All right, next up we got Toronto and the Chicago White Sox. We have Gossman with a 4.47 against Clevenger with a 6.75. Betting markets currently have the Blue Jays as a minus 220, over under 7.5 plus some juice on the over. Stats wise, Toronto is 1-1. White Sox lost 6 in a row now. They are streaking in the wrong direction. Toronto is hitting the Nerfy 86.2% of the time as the away team. Chicago 82.7% as the home team. That gives you a 71.35% chance of a Nerfy hitting. Typically, I would say, yep, I'm on that. But looking at the pitchers, nope, I'm off that because I don't trust Clevenger with a 6.7 and I don't trust Gossman with a 4.4. I don't trust these. So we're going to pass on Nerfy. You can take a Nerfy if you like. I'm not doing it. Toronto's getting 5.2 runs a game, which is 6th best. Meanwhile, Chicago is 3.14 for 26th best. So we have a major advantage here for Toronto. 254 batting for Toronto, which is 4th best against 202 for 25th. For Chicago, major advantage Toronto, and Toronto's bat is striking out 6.7, which is 3rd best against Chicago, which is 9.8, which is 27th, which is 3rd worst. Again, major advantage Toronto. Pitching matchup also favors Toronto. I see why they're a minus 220. They will be going into a parlay of mine for money line. We are also going to take the run line in this one as well because I believe Toronto has all the numbers here, the better pitching matchup. We're also going to take the over 7.5. These two pitchers are over 11 combined. We have Toronto's offense is just stacked right now. I typically, if I have a super hot and cold one, I leave it alone. But when I have a pitcher like Clevenger out there, I'm going to take an over a 7.5 any day of the week. So over, money line, Toronto, run line, Toronto, next game. All right, next up, we got Arizona and the Rangers of Texas. We have Fat with 4.05 ERA up against Dunning with a 4.43. Betting markets currently have the Diamondbacks as a minus 120 on the road. Over under 8.5 with some juice on the over. Arizona's lost 1. Texas is 1-1, so no streaking going on here. Nerfy wise, we're about 57%, so nothing stands out for the Nerfy. Arizona 3.4 runs, Texas 3.17. That's 22nd and 25th. We have two bottom 10 run scoring offenses over the last week. Arizona 218 average, Texas 200 average. That's 23rd and 26th. Again, bottom 10 batting averages as well. And strikeouts wise, Arizona 7.8 for ninth best, Texas 8.5 for 20th. So we don't have any advantages when it comes to batting in this one. Pitching matchups, do we have an advantage here? I'm not seeing much. Fat has a better ERA and a slightly better whip, but only slightly. So nothing really stands out here. I don't see an advantage when it comes to the line. Nothing with the stats, nothing with the pitching. This entire game is going to be a pass. Next up, we got Cleveland and Colorado. We got McKenzie with a 344 against Feltner with a 507. Betting markets have the Guardians 145 on the money line, over under 10.5 with some juice on the under. Yesterday, I said Colorado, Cleveland, this game felt weird. Colorado, they were too close in stats, so I left it alone. I'm looking at it. The stats are still lining up that way. We have Cleveland lost one, Colorado's 1-2, Nerfy percent, 50% chance on a Nerfy, pass on that. Cleveland 6.3 to Colorado's 5.2. That's third and sixth in runs. They're both scoring in the top six. Cleveland's batting 240 for 15th. Colorado's 248 for 9th. 0.008 difference. Nothing there. Strikeouts 8.3 to 9.2. 7 spot difference. No advantage here. Only real advantage is we have McKenzie pitching, who is a better pitcher. He has better ERA, slightly better whip overall. He does walk a lot of people, which I don't like in this one. I don't like how Cleveland's still favoring this one at 145. This is closer to a pick 'em in my mind. So in this one, just like yesterday, the numbers are too close to call on this one. Colorado even has a better batting average. McKenzie, those walks really worry me. So this game is going to be a complete pass on all fronts. Next game. Next up, we got the Yankees and the Angels. We got Nasty Nestor with his 329 up against Canning with a 505. Betting markets have the Yankees as a -180 favorite. Over under 8.5 with some juice on the over. Stats wise, Yankees lost the game. Angels lost 3 in a row. The Angels are starting a streak that you don't want to start. Nerfy wise, 52% chance, nothing to talk about there. Yankees 4.8 runs for 9th best. Angels 3.6 for 20th best. Advantage Yankees. Batting average 255 for the Yankees is third. Angels 235, which is 19th. Advantage Yankees. 8.6 strikeouts to 8.4. Neither one really has a difference here, so no advantage there. We have a pitching advantage for the Yankees. We have batting average and run advantage for the Yankees. Canning has a 5 ERA with a 1.37 whip, not that good. The Yankees -180 will be a play today. We're not going to play them on the run line. They're not that much of a not that great of a play, but we're going to take them on the money line. Over under wise, I am actually looking at both the Yankees being pretty hot. The Angels are middle. They're 20 and 19th on runs, and that with Canning giving up 5 runs. I'm going to take the over in this game as well. Over 8.5, Yankees money line. Next game. All right, next up, we got Houston and Seattle. We got Brown with a 706 against Castillo with a 331. Betting markets have the Mariners as a 135 favorite. Over under 7.5 with some juice on the under. Houston's lost their last game. Seattle's on a 2-game winning streak. Nerfy percent 52. Nothing to talk about there. Houston 3.5. Seattle 3.2 on runs per game. That's 21 and 23 in the majors. Not good for these teams. Houston has the advantage in batting average, 243 to 198. That 198 is 28th in the majors for Seattle. Houston striking out 6 times a game for second. Seattle 9.5 for 26. So we have numbers wise, statistics in the past week say Houston has the advantages overall. However, Seattle has the advantage on the mound. Castillo is a much better pitcher, better ERA, better whip, better strikeout to walk ratio. Everything's better here. However, Seattle's batting 198. I can't back that. Starting pitcher is your most important thing, but then your next most important is what is your offense doing? Can they score? And they cannot score right now. So this game, I can't take an over-under, and I can't pick a side. So this game's going to be a pass. Next game. Next up, we got Miami and San Diego. We got Luzardo with a 414 against Waldron with a 486. Betting markets have the Padres as a 135 money line favorite. Over under 7.5 with some juice on the under. Stats wise, Miami has lost 1. San Diego's won 2 in a row. Both teams combined for a 63% Nerfy. They're both struggling. I am actually, even though it's not 70%, with the pitching matchups they are, I'm leaning nerfy as they are, just because Miami is only getting 2.5 runs a game, which is 29th. San Diego's only getting 3 runs, which is 27th. So both teams are struggling to get runs. Miami's batting 247 for 10th. San Diego 240 for 15th. No real advantage there. A little bit for Miami. And on strikeouts, Miami 8 a game for 11th, while San Diego only at 5.7, which is the best over the last week. Pitching matchups are about equal. Nothing stands out here, so I cannot even begin to pick a side. Over-under wise, 2 pitchers with high-ish ERAs. Luzardo with that 109 whip is the best thing on that screen. Other than that, like I said, both teams are struggling. You have 29th and 27 to score runs. They just can't get it done. But I don't trust 7.5. But I am going to have a little fun with this. I'm going to take the nerfy in this one because it is a almost 64% chance, and we have 2 struggling offenses. So nerfy in this one. Move on to the last game. All right, last up, we got the Phillies and the Giants. We got Wheeler with a 2.53 ERA going up against the Ghost. We don't know who San Fran is sending out yet. Probably somebody not that good. That's typically what happens in this situation. Looking at the betting markets, we have the Phillies as a minus 200, over under 7.5, with a little bit of juice on the over. Betting markets are also expecting somebody not that good to be pitching today for the Giants. They're both top 6 offenses, though. Philly, 5.29 runs for 6. San Fran, 6.8, which is first. Batting 249 for Philly, which is 6. San Fran, 269, which is second. So we got 2 dominant offenses, both top 10 when it comes to strikeouts. They're not striking out much. They're both on fire. In this one, I'm taking the over 7.5. We know Wheeler's pretty good, but we're assuming San Fran's not sending out somebody good. So I'm taking that over 7.5 before that number gets bumped up because some garbage stat guy gets put out there. So we're going to take that one. Philly is at 2 losses in a row. This is the same situation as Kansas City. I would typically lean off. The numbers say take San Fran, but the pitching matchup here is saying take Philly. I don't know who San Fran's taking out there, so we're going to be cautious with this. We're not going to do a run line, Philly, but we are going to put them in the parlay. That's all I can do. The over, I feel comfortable with 7.5 for sure. 2 top 6 offenses. We'll rock with that, and that's it. All right, 16 games. All broken down stats wise, given picks and everything. Now, probably more passes than you expected. I expected more plays myself too, but what can you do? When the stats don't line up, you just don't want to roll the dice too much here. So, but I do like to have a little fun every now and then. It is betting, it is for entertainment. We're not trying to get super rich off it. We're trying to have fun with this while making the games better to watch. Either way, if you like what you saw, drop a like, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you tomorrow. Peace.